easier to refer than try to scramble writing everything down.
Yeah. Okay. So, hi, my name is Cameron Hovey, and I'm with LDT 561 Multimedia course, and we are trying to find success stories within LDT, and that's why we reached out to you. And my first question is, what's your name, your job title, and the organization/company you work for?
Yeah, so my name is Liesl, and I work as an instructional designer accessibility expert, and I play different roles depending on which contract I'm working with. First and foremost, the gig that pays the bills is with CCC Accessibility Center, and it's hosted at Butte Community College up north from us, from San Diego and San Francisco. And it's a grant from the Chancellor's office. And I also subcontract with other institutions in community colleges and districts up and down California.
Okay, that's cool. I've
Mhm.
never heard of that before, like someone doing it like that. Because I've honestly, with LDT, I don't know what I'm going to do personally.
Mhm.
So, like, it's just kind of cool to see what other people do. And then the next question is, could you give us a description of what you do and is significant in the company? So, basically, kind of what you just said, but.
Yeah. So I work specifically with faculty and staff professional development or training surrounding creating inclusive learning environments that are accessible to students with disabilities,
Okay.
which ultimately helps all students. So I design, develop workflows to improve the participant or the user experience, and it's kind of like a jack of all trades.
Okay. Makes sense. And then the next question is, how has LDT led you to this position and how has it impacted your life?
Okay, so let's start with the how did we get here? So, or how has LDT led you to this position? So, LDT provided me with the foundations, the learning theories, and understanding the learning science of motivation and just learning, right? So, our work as instructional designers is to provide information in the most effective way. And if you know how to engage your learners in meaningful ways, you can absolutely motivate them to learn more. So I researched for a really great program. I was looking for quality, I didn't just want a degree. I didn't just want another piece of certificate paper. I wanted something that provided me translatable skills so that right out of the box, I can go get an adult job, like my first adult job. That's where I was at in my life. So I was looking for quality. So I wanted those 2-3 years to be spent really well. Um, so I eventually chose the LDT program as it's been around for a while. I think it's one of the oldest, if not the oldest, online LDT program here on this side
Yeah.
of the US. And I liked it because, from what I heard, because I had another coworker that was doing LDT in a completely different school. I was trying to compare notes, and it sounded like the LDT program, since it was well oiled, they had faculty who were present and facilitated learning experiences that now we would call authentic, right? These real world learning experience. Like at the time, I didn't realize this, but the LDT program had us work in groups. So they're project-based groups. These are learning real-world experiences that help me craft those translatable skills that I can use out in the wild. We also worked in groups too. We all hate working in groups, but why? Right?
Yeah.
And I think it's that program's hands-on, authentic learning experience, working in groups with clients. That was pretty crazy. Crazy in a good way.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's different.
Yes. So you work in groups with clients. That helped me prepare for those factors or those obstacles. We call them factors because that's like the nicest way of
Yeah.
phrasing things to our clients. But these were obstacles that just happen in the wild. Like when you work with teams, you know, the personalities are going to differ a little bit. You learn about the group dynamic, the roles needed, who are the main players, and expectations. So that's, I think, the way that the LDT program really, how they facilitated that authentic learning experiences really, and this is going on to the next question, how has it impacted my life? It's those learning experience I was able to apply what I've learned. It taught me how to effectively work in groups, how to organize our efforts, pretty much establishing the expectations for everyone. So what is the client's expectations? What are our expectations of each other working in the group? What's the scope? You know, how, you know, don't go too far into the weeds or don't let it grow out of scope. You know, it's maintaining the realistic working conditions that you would just find out in the wild. And it was really nice because in the LDT program, it gives you that sandbox to play with, those learning environments. So you could mess up, you know, you can do some faux pas, which I'll explain in a second, because I think there's a question on that later on. And there's no harm done. They're just learning experiences that you can keep using out in the wild. But yeah, I mean, it helped me become more of a confident person. I actually was really shy. I'm a shy person. I'm totally an introvert. I kind of like being a homebody, not gonna lie. But you know, you could tell that I'm pretty outgoing, but because the program gave me that opportunity to practice.
Yeah, and it like influenced you to get better at that. The next question is, how did you learn about the LDT program, and was it while you were already attending school, or did you purposely attend school for the LDT program?
Yeah. So in my first adult job, I was working for a college as part of the professional faculty professional development team, and they needed an accessibility specialist. So I was sent to learn about it and become the district's accessibility lead. And one day I remember talking to my boss, my dean actually, and I said, you know what, I really like working with faculty and professional development. This is really fun. And he's like, have you ever heard of instructional design? And I was like, no, what is that? He's like, oh my gosh, it's the best job you have never heard of. And so he told me about what instructional designers do, the roles, and he name dropped SDSU, but he encouraged me to just shop around and see what would be best. And I eventually landed on SDSU just because of the way it was facilitated, and just because it's been around longer.
That makes sense. And then the next question is, are there any significant memories of LDT from the past that stick out to you?
Yeah, so I've made a lot of my close friends with this degree, closer than my undergrad experience. We still keep in touch, and they've also given me opportunities, like a hookup to, you know, if I needed a job, or they would recommend like, hey, we have an opening, would you like to apply? Like, so I made those really strong connections. So highly recommend, and it might be difficult now because we're in the middle of a pandemic, but earlier I don't know if you still do this, but we used to meet up like at Old Town. I don't know if you guys do that. I'm not sure if this program does that, but for the master's program, we were able to meet up with the other students. That was really cool. We made those connections. Yeah, I really like that. One thing that really stuck out to me, and it totally makes me cringe, there was this, so remember those project-based learning, those projects where we would work with the client? So we would do Zoom, right? So we would Zoom in with our client. And one time we were talking to one of the clients, it was just a normal meeting. So it was her, and then in the background you see the kitchen. So suddenly you see this like little figure crawling from one side out into the middle of the kitchen. And I was like, oh, who's this little man in the background? Because, you know, I'm being like outgoing and whatever. She turns around and she's like, oh, that's my husband. And then all my group members were like, you're out, you're fired, just get out. So if you ever see anything weird happening, and they don't teach you this, and I don't think they didn't teach us, If you see anything weird happening, unless the place is on fire or they're in danger, if there's anything weird happening in the background, just let it happen. Just
Oh.
nod, smile. It was so awkward. But yeah, otherwise it was really good experiences.
Yeah. And then the next question is, what types of LDT courses have proven to be the most useful in your field?
Yeah, I want to say all of them. I think from the basics to there's some classes where you can like multimedia, right? Don't you create like pictures,
Yeah.
collaborative pictures and things like that, infographics
Yeah.
and video tutorials, like that was all really helpful. I think since I already had that background, like at that point I had Photoshop skills. So I brought that to the table. I already had video production skills. I've been doing video production since middle school. So, there was a lot that I took, but I think that the LDT program helps you build a portfolio. So if you haven't already, I think they were phasing that out when I was in that cohort. But if you don't create a portfolio, because it takes forever, you forget everything and you lose track of everything. So build your portfolio as you go.
Okay.
But
That's
yeah,
good. And
yeah.
then also, what was a typical day look like for you at work?
Oh yeah, it's like, remember how I mentioned it was like jack of all trades. It's like
Yeah.
everything. So if you like, and let me tell you just right off the bat, it depends on who you work for, where you work for. So we're broken up into industry instructional designers, and then there's higher ed instructional design. They're two completely different worlds. You may have different roles. I think my position is unique because I'm doing like multiple things. So I work with faculty in course design one-on-one on one of my contracts. I also create self-paced courses or resources like job aids, if you will. I design, develop, and deploy training. So I facilitate Zoom training with colleges one-on-one or districts. And I just pick up odd jobs, sometimes working as a subject matter expert. But I think that's more of um, just because I have accessibility background. Maybe that might be why. But uh, folks specifically look out for me because I have instructional design. So that can open up a lot of different jobs for you. I have friends. I mean, if I wanted to work as a video production specialist or I don't know, something along the lines, I can totally do that. You can be a technical writer. Having instructional design gives you that foundation. How do you effectively communicate what needs to be communicated, right?
Okay.
So yeah, I do not like doing the same thing every single day. So that's my typical day. It's whatever priority and whatever I feel like that day.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
nice. You kind of
Mhm.
can like control what you want to do. That's
Yeah.
Has the work field been affected at all by the pandemic? And if so, how significant was it and how did you adjust?
So from the beginning, I've been working in the online world. So many of the contracts or many of the jobs that I've had were working remotely. So 2 3 years, maybe 4 years prior to the pandemic, I was already working from home all the time. Um, I think if the only thing is that there's more work. There's more work than I can juggle, which is not a bad thing. I'm not complaining at all. It's very nice to have work right now. So I have a lot of work. I have a lot of options, so I can go wherever I want. But right now, I'm pretty happy in higher ed. Um, let's see, and I think there are more opportunities since everything has pivoted online. So there wasn't really a lot for me to adjust because I was already working,
Yeah.
online. So if anything, it's gotten a lot easier to find gigs. So say for example, if I lost my job, I think I could find. I think we would be fine.
Yeah,
Yeah, very flexible.
that's good. And
Hmm.
then where do you see LDT going in the future?
Yeah, I see it definitely. it should now, and this is just from the California Community College perspective. There's 116 community colleges that I work with, and instructional design is not something that's baked in. There aren't very many instructional designers per college. You would be lucky to even have one. So I think that now that we've moved online, there's more need, more guidance, more support. So for my skill set of repackaging face-to-face or on ground, classes and moving them online and repackaging it for the online environment has been really helpful. So that skill set can definitely translate. Maybe it's happening in industry too, right? Where you have to apply everything that you've learned. But I see it definitely in higher ed. It's a need. There's need for instructional designers, especially with those of accessibility skill set. So that's just accessibility is the way you format or you design your documents, your instructional materials, so that students of disabilities can access it. And that's super, super rare. It's like having a unicorn.
That makes sense. And then the final question is, do you have any advice just for potential and current LDT students?
Yeah. Let's see. The biggest takeaway, yes, all those hard skills of knowing how to leverage technology, using ADDIE, having all those learning theories, that's great and all, but don't forget your soft skills. Don't forget your people skills, your bedside manners. That's really going to be important. I think that much of the success might, and this is what I've heard from other people describe, but it's my the way I approach people. It's very warm. I'm coming at you as somebody that wants to help, right? Rather than somebody that is talking down to you and saying, we need to do this. It's, instructional design is about the psychology and the learning science, right? Like, how do we motivate people to do what they need to do without coming top down?
And not,
Exactly. So a lot of our learning theories, it stems from psychology. So it's how you interact with people. So to be an instructional designer, you have to be a people person.
Yeah.
Right. So you have to be okay with interacting, with communicating. So that goes along with having proper work etiquette, like being organized, being prompt, delivering on time, and definitely soak in everything that you can in this program. So know your learning theories and get ready to defend yourself. I've heard that it's a lot tougher when you get into industry. Higher education, they'll listen to you for the most part. And I just to back up a little bit, as an instructional designer, you understand the work, the worker, and the workplace, right? So you might already likely have the answer, but no one is going to ask you. In that case, you find the environment that values you, but otherwise, start pushing yourself forward and bringing yourself to the table, right? And just speaking what needs to be done. Don't be shy. You have a lot of potential.
I am pretty shy, but like this program, I agree, it's brought me out a lot. Like I've been talking to a lot more people and being more like outgoing. So
yeah. And I think that practice of just putting yourself out there, it's almost like when you start driving, right? It's like you start driving, you're a little bit nervous, but at the end of the day, when you're used to driving, suddenly you find yourself home and you're like, I don't even remember driving, right? And so I remember when I first started, it was very difficult for me to speak up. It was so hard. But nowadays it's super easy. Like, I remember back in the old days, it used to take me like an hour or two to prep for like a one-on-one consultation with faculty, but now it's like, oh, I got like 5 minutes, I probably should go get ready. Like you get comfortable with what you've learned from the program, and then you just get comfortable working with people.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, it's been fun.
Yeah, that sounds fun.
Yeah, I mean, you can work as a contractor. I mean, if I wanted, I could work as a contractor but you know, you don't get the health benefits. But still, if you have a very unique skill set, you can definitely you know, negotiate. It's really, I think it's the most flexible job that I've ever picked up. Before this, I was a researcher, so I used to work at a museum, and um, uh, I found a couple of species of like barnacles that Charles Darwin found a long time ago and wrote a paper on it. And the sciences were great. I had a lot of fun, but it was very difficult finding a job.
Yeah.
And I scored myself, whatever you go next, whatever path you take, it's going to be something that will give you multiple opportunities and potential to
Yeah.
spread your wings.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
because you never know what you like until you get there.
yeah. That makes sense. Well, that was all of my questions. Thank you so much for talking with me. And this video, we want to put it in a video. Is that fine if we use
Yeah,
it?
sure,
Okay.
absolutely. Feel free to
Perfect.
cut it, clean it up. I was
Yeah.
rambling. So
Okay, well, it was so nice to meet you. Thank you for everything. And that is all I need.
okay,
But is there anything else
fantastic.
you want to add?
No, no. Good luck and build your portfolio. If this is going to be your career, absolutely build it now.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, all right. Have
Okay,
a great weekend. Bye.
bye.